Hello, and welcome to Big Future Live. My name is Miriam Ahmed, and I'm so excited to be kicking off tonight's Big Future Live event, How Much Will College Really Cost, with you. A little bit about me. I'm a senior at Carter High School, as well as a Big Future ambassador. I'm one of over 9,000 high school student leaders who help others plan for life after high school. Initially, I became a Big Future ambassador out of curiosity. I didn't really know what it was, but when I learned about the true cause of Big Future ambassadors, I knew that this was perfect for me. You see, as a junior, I really struggled with scholarship searches, and college planning was just all over the place. So I knew that I wanted to become someone that can help others plan for life after high school and coordinate things through Big Future. But enough about me. I just want to thank you all for joining us here today. I know it has probably been a long day at school or work for the parents and educators that are here with us. So thanks for joining Big Future Live. And for those of you who don't know, Big Future Live is a series of virtual community events where you connect with college reps, career experts, and peers to help you plan for life after high school. Big Future Live was created so that you can get your questions answered so that you can plan your future your way. Now, we all know that the next steps after high school is a big deal. It's exciting, but it can also be expensive, and navigating how much college will really cost can be confusing. But don't worry, you're in luck. Today, we're joined by financial aid experts from Palo Alto University, University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the College Board to answer your questions about the true cost of college. So get your questions ready, and welcome to the Big Future Live family.
Thank you so much, Miriam, and thank you to all of the students, parents, and caring adults joining us this evening. Welcome to tonight's Big Future Live event, How Much Will College Really Cost? My name is Greg Rafal. I use he, him pronouns, and I work here on the Big Future team. Now, for those of you who don't know, Big Future, we're a team of former educators, parents, college and career planning pros, and really just folks in general who are committed to helping students plan for their first step after high school. As Miriam said, our goal at Big Future Live is to answer your questions. So you won't sit through a long presentation. You're only going to be here for 45 minutes tonight. And you won't go through a ton of PowerPoint slides. This is a virtual community powered by students, parents, caring adults, and your questions. Now, I'm looking at how many folks are in here. We have a lot of folks with us today, which is great. But we'd love to know who is in this virtual room so we can help answer your questions today. So we're going to go ahead and launch our first quick poll for this evening. If you're a student, tell us what grade you're in. And if you're a parent or a caring adult, tell us what grade your student is in. And we'll go ahead and launch our poll. And we'll give you a few seconds to respond here. Again, if you're a student, what grade are you in? And for our caring adults out there, what grade is your student or child in as well? And I see many of you are completing the poll here. Let's see here. We have about 55% of you are juniors in the 11th grade. Oh, it's shifting a little bit as different responses are coming in. Some more 10th graders. All right, so it looks like we have about a third of you are 10th graders, about half of you all are 11th graders, and then we have a sprinkling of seniors and freshmen as well. Well, good news, no matter if you're in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade, Big Future Live is for everyone. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Now that we know who's in the room, let's meet our speakers for today. So I'll ask each of our speakers to come on screen and join us here. As Miriam said, we have some great speakers with us today. I'm going to ask each of you to go ahead and introduce yourselves to the group. I'll ask you to just give us your name, where do you call home, what's your job, or where do you work, and tell us one fun fact about you. And I'll just call on folks for ease here. And Carla, how about you?
Yeah, perfect timing. You can actually hear my whiny dog who has appeared next to me in my home office. So,
perfect.
You know, some things never change, right? Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Weber. Wandell. I'm the communications manager for the Office of Student Financial Aid at UW-Madison. Before that was a financial aid advisor. So I have been in the profession for many years helping students understand the cost of college and how to access financial aid. And a fun fact about me is I am currently flipping the house that we are living in. We bought this house not too long ago and are in the process of completely redoing it. So that's my outside of work project that is all consuming if you've ever worked on a house before.
I bet. What a big project. I haven't worked on a house before, but I can imagine that it's a huge undertaking. So congrats, Carla. Erica, how about you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Lambert. I am the Financial Literacy and Outreach Coordinator at Palo Alto University. I've been with the university for about 3 years now. And I guess a fun fact about me is, although currently now I'm in California, I am originally born and raised from St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm Midwest through and through. So.
All right. We have some good Midwest representation here. Thanks, Erica. And Isabel.
Thanks. My name is Isabel Huarte. I am a senior systems analyst here at the College Board. I've been here for 6 months, but prior I worked in financial aid offices for the past 14 years, since 2008. Fun fact about me is I just got a new puppy. So Carla, I totally understand the whining. He is 12 weeks old and he's a silver Labrador named Milo.
Oh my gosh. I want to ask all the puppies to come on screen with us. I think we'll get mine too. That's adorable. And I'm sure good luck training in this early stage of puppy ownership.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Isabel. And last but certainly not least, Jessica.
Sure. Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Ayers. I am the Director of Financial Aid at Palo Alto University, and Palo Alto University is located in the Bay Area of California, the San Francisco Bay Area, so Northern California. However, I actually live in Southern California in San Diego, which is my home city, so I'm a 100% remote worker. Also, just as a side note, I've had the wonderful privilege. Of course, I work with Erica Lambert now, but I've also had the privilege to work alongside Isabel Huarte. So I have these wonderful colleagues of mine joining us this evening. And in terms of a fun fact, I don't know how fun it is, but I certainly am willing to admit what a nerd I am at heart. And I absolutely love public libraries. I'm still one of those people that puts books on hold and walks to the local library and spends time there, and I really enjoy it. In fact, when I relocated home to San Diego, one of the first things I did was renew my San Diego Public Library card. So there you go.
That's awesome, Jessica. And I'm sure I'm an avid reader. I'm sure many folks who are watching and on the panel with us are as well. And I also live right next to a library, so I can relate to that. Thank you all for being here today and for being part of Big Future Live. Really looking forward to hearing from you and to getting some of our audience's questions answered today. But before we jump into it, I know a lot of questions are coming in right now. Before we jump into it, let's go over just some housekeeping really quick. During today's event, all of our audience members will be in listen-only mode for the entire event. This means that you can see us, but unfortunately we can't see you. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to hear from you. There is an Ask a Question box on the bottom of your screen where you can type in your questions. Now, Big Future Live is all about getting your questions answered, so please don't be shy. Now, there are a lot of people on the call, so we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible. We'll also have a feedback survey at the end of the event. We'll send this to you when the session is over so you can tell us how we did, how the event went for you, so we can make future Big Future Lives even better. And finally, if you miss anything during today's session, you need to walk away from your computer or from your phone or tablet, don't worry, the recording is going to be available later on demand at bigfuture.org/live. And today's event is just the beginning. We have plenty of other Big Future Live events coming up, and you can go to bigfuture.org/live to check out other events we have in February and to register. Now, Big Future Live, again, all about answering your questions. But before we get to your questions, I have one last question for our audience. I would love to know what brought you to today's event, what topics are you most interested in hearing about today? So you should see another quick poll pop up on your screen. What are you most interested in hearing about today? Is it the cost of college? Do you want to know how to calculate how much college will cost you? Or are you looking for more information on where to find resources? So go ahead and answer that quick poll on the screen. All right. Well, it looks like most of you want to know how to calculate what college will cost you, which is great. We'll definitely cover that during today's session. Well, thanks so much everyone for that poll. I think we can go ahead and dive right in. Panelists, are you ready? Awesome. Well, our first question is for Carla. Carla, Kai wants to know, how much does college really cost?
This is a perfect lead-in question, right? Because that's really what is on everybody's mind. But fortunately or unfortunately, it depends. And that's an answer we give in the financial aid community a lot, that I don't know that everybody loves that answer, but it's true. It really does depend on the college that you're looking at and the financial aid that you can get at that school, because it is going to be different from school to school, both the costs that you can incur by going to that school, as well as the financial aid that you'll be eligible for. Federal financial aid you can get at all of the schools, but if you're staying in your state residence, you might be eligible for some state financial aid, but that could change if you go out of state. And then of course, schools have financial aid to offer, and they can really be different from institution to institution. So it does take a little bit of research, taking a look at numbers. Schools have what's called a net price calculator that you can use that can give you an estimate of what you might be looking to pay to go to different schools, but it does depend. And so you've got to do the research and apply for financial aid, fill out that FAFSA, apply for scholarships, fill out any other applications either your state or your institution requires, because that information is ultimately what's going to tell you what it costs to go to college.
That's great. Thanks so much, Carla. And our next question, Medea wants to know, what's the cost for international students? Erica, can you take this one?
Sure. So this is also kind of similar to Carla. It's going to be based off of the institution that you are going to be going to, but a lot of schools do have like maybe international student programs. International students most likely will not be eligible for federal aid, but there may be scholarship opportunities that are available at your university that you can look and apply to.
That's great. And we have a next question. This one is for Jessica. When paying for college, what are you paying for exactly? So what goes into the cost of college?
Sure. So first, let me set the stage in that the Department of Education requires all institutions to provide something to students and their families that is called estimated cost of attendance. Sometimes it's called cost of attendance. Sometimes it's called a budget. But essentially what it is it's an estimate of what it will cost the student to attend that institution for that time period, usually for the academic year, but for whatever time period your program encompasses. Included in that estimated cost of attendance are what are called direct costs and indirect costs. So direct costs are things that the university, the college, or the institution bills you for. So most commonly, tuition and fees, right? Oftentimes, schools will provide health insurance. So if there's a health insurance program, they bill you directly for that. Or if there's housing, they will bill you directly for that. So direct costs are costs that are billed to you from the institution that you attend. The second kind of costs within your budget or within the cost of attendance are what are called indirect costs. So those are costs that are associated with attending the institution. So think like books and supplies, transportation, housing, personal miscellaneous, those kinds of things. Housing if you live off campus. If you live on campus, then the university or institution may bill you. If you live off campus, then certainly those are associated costs. So each school, again, provides estimate in all of those categories, and then they give you a total estimated cost of attendance or a total budget. The idea behind providing you that information is twofold. One is the Department of Education wants to ensure that you are an informed consumer. In other words, that you understand what your total cost could be for the year, okay? Now, this is not how much you have to pay, but rather it's an estimate of what the average student pays to attend for that particular year. The second reason that it's provided to students and families is for you all to sit down and create a budget for yourself. So you sit down and based on the estimated cost of attendance that's provided to you, you create your own personal budget. This is how much I can expect to pay for tuition and fees. I'm not going to live on campus. I'm going to live on campus, and this is how much my rent is going to be. Or maybe I'm living with family, and so my rent is zero. This is how much I estimate to spend on books and supplies because I'm not going to purchase my books. I'm going to borrow my books, or heck, I'm not going to read any books when I'm in school. We hope that's not the case, but you get my point. The idea is to create a budget so that you can determine your estimated costs for yourself for that upcoming school year. So that ultimately, when you know your costs, then you know how much financial aid you need or personal resources that you need to bring to the table in order to cover all of those costs, okay? So the takeaway is an estimated cost of attendance so that you can be informed about what the estimated total cost to be. It's not what you have to pay. It's for informational purposes so that you can then create your own budget to determine how much resources with financial aid or self-pay that you need to bring to the table in order to get your costs covered.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was really great as you kind of broke down what actually goes into the cost of attendance, indirect costs, direct costs, and why it's helpful to know to make your decision on where you're going to go and how much it's going to cost you. So thanks so much, Jessica. Our next question is for Isabel. And Isabel, this question is from Heaven. Heaven wants to know, is cafeteria food normally covered by your tuition and fees?
So typically, no. Cafeteria food is not covered by your tuition and fees, but the students and or parents have the option to usually purchase like a meal plan if it is a cafeteria where you have kind of buffet style, where you can get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or you can pay per meal. Some colleges also have a food court where they have several restaurants like Burger King, Taco Bell, Panda Express, where you can also have a card that your parents put money on that you can use to pay for your breakfast, lunch, dinner, or you can pay out of pocket using your card.
Awesome. Thanks, Isabel. And that's important to know where you're going to eat, where you're going to have that next meal. Appreciate it. Our next question is for Carla. Carla, Rowan wants to know which is usually cheaper, on-campus housing or off-campus?
That's a great question. But there's actually a third category, which is if you have the option, living at home, which really is the cheapest option. If you're looking to save money, that's one of the ways to do it is live at home for a year, a few more years to try to save on some of that money. But again, here I go. It depends whether off-campus or on-campus housing is more affordable. It can depend on the school. It could depend on the city you live in. Sometimes just cities that are higher and more expensive for their rents, it's often cheaper to live on campus. But that might not be the case in all places. So again, a great point to do some research. If you know what schools you're thinking about looking at, you can typically find their estimates, like Jessica was talking about, those cost of attendance numbers will give you some idea of at that school, if living on campus or off campus, if there's any big difference. But again, also consider maybe living at home.
That's great, Carla. And thanks for the question, Rowan. Hope it was helpful. There are 3 options for you there. So our next question is for Isabel. Isabel, Sydney wants to know, how much will out-of-state schools cost?
So just to, I guess, copy Carla, it depends. Some schools offer the same tuition rate for in-state and out-of-state, and some schools offer discounts to students who move there from another state. Of course, there are also other schools that charge a higher in-state tuition. Higher out-of-state tuition versus in-state. So it really depends on the college that you're choosing to go to. You definitely want to reach out to their financial aid office or the admissions office to find out, because you don't want to kind of assume that just because you're out of state, your tuition will be higher. You definitely want to research it because you never know, it may benefit you in some way.
That's great, Isabel. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of trends here. It depends on a lot of things, right? So I encourage students, ask those questions, reach out to schools, reach out to these financial aid advisors. They're here to help clarify some of these things for you. So great question, Sydney. Our next question, this one is for you, Erica. Jeff wants to know, how accurate is the net price calculator?
So I would say the net price calculator gives you a good estimate of what your tuition and fees may be. It's not going to be straight down to the T of exactly what you would pay, but it's going to give you a great idea of what you'll pay, because the questions that they ask you are about your family, whether you're living with your parents, you're going to be dependent of your parents still. They're going to ask you a little bit of income questions similar to what the FAFSA would ask you, as well as if you're going to rent your books or if you're going to purchase your books. All those questions are kind of in the net price calculator. So it won't give you the true cost of your specific college that you're looking for, but it will give you a great estimate, and it's a great tool to use.
That's a great explanation, and explain to us what exactly net price means.
Net price pretty much means the after all the fees are calculated out of there, then you kind of get your net price. So if you have loans, you have to think about there's a loan fee that we have to pay. So you get awarded the full amount, but after those fees taken into consideration, then you will have the actual net price. Am I right, panelist?
Yes, Erica that's exactly right. Essentially what net prices is referring to is your estimated cost of attendance or your total budget, you minusing or subtracting any financial aid that you may be eligible for, also subtracting the assumed level of resources that you're bringing to the table. So one of the things to keep in mind is the Department of Education, when applying for federal financial aid, assumes that the family is going to have resources to help bring to the table to help pay for the education. Now, whether the family actually does or does not, that's another question and another conversation, but there's a level of assumption on behalf of the Department of Education that families will come to the table with some of those resources. So again, what net price is referring to is that estimated cost of attendance minus any of the estimated financial aid you may be eligible for, minus the estimated and assumed resources that the family is going to bring to the table. And that remaining amount is the net cost, right? So total cost of attendance minus financial aid minus family resources equals the net cost.
That's great, and that's really clear. Thank you, Jessica and Erica. So we're talking about this net price calculator. We're defining net price. Where do you actually find a net price calculator?
So you'll be able to find it on your school's website. Any school that you're looking in that you're interested in, it should be located in more of the tuition and fees section on the website. They may have a cost of attendance section on the website. So it's just, you as the student, doing your research to try to find where it is on the school's website, and they're usually really easy tools to maneuver and go through, and they don't really even really take that long to calculate out everything.
And if I can jump into real quick, there's also the Net Price Calculator that's a lot to say. Net Price Calculator Center that's offered by the U.S. Department of Education. And you can go on and search for a school, and it will take you directly to their net price calculator. And the website for that's just collegecost.ed.gov/net-price. And that'll get you, like I said, just you can start typing in schools. It'll auto-generate some ideas for you, and then it'll take you straight to those pages.
Thank you for that, Carla. And for those students who didn't write that down, can you repeat that link for us again?
Yes, it is collegecost.ed.gov. And when you get to that page, there's several different options, but you can click on the Net Price Calculator Center. And that's where you'll just search for your school's calculator. You can just start typing in the name. And like I said, it'll take you directly to that school's website where their net price calculator is located.
That's great. Thanks so much, Carla. You can also find various net price calculators on Big Future and through College Board, as well as just another resource for you. Our next question is for you, Jessica. Jessica, can you explain what do students see after they complete or use the net price calculator? What are the results? What do we see?
Sure. Boy, the theme you guys are going to walk away with is it depends. And the reason it depends is because there's all kinds of software providers that schools contract with to provide the net price calculator. So what it's going to look like from institution to institution will be different depending on who the school contracts with to provide that net price calculator. But overall, and generally speaking, it should have what I mentioned before, which is your estimated cost of attendance, your estimated financial aid, the assumed or estimated amount of resources, and then your net cost. It will also likely say, for more information, contact the Office of Financial Aid or contact the admissions office. It will also likely provide information about what your next steps should be in the overall college process. So some schools may say, okay, now that you've completed the net price calculator, click on here and you can apply to the institution, right? The other thing that, and likely what we'll show is information about institutional or state aid opportunities. So for example, on Palo Alto University's net price calculator, at the ending page, beyond the net price, we also share additional information about institutional scholarships that students may be eligible for, as well as additional information about the California State Grant Program. So again, it's not one size fits all for every university, but ultimately on that kind of final page, you should be looking for what is your net price, what are my next steps, who can I contact for questions or concerns, and then maybe some additional information.
That's great. Thanks for just breaking that down for us, Jessica. And for our students and caring adults watching tonight, you'll see on your screen there's a sample net price calculator results on the screen just to give you a sense of what that might look like once you actually complete the net price calculator. All right, our next question is from Constance, and Constance wants to know, Erica, this one is for you, by the way. I tell you that because it's a big one. How bad is student debt really, and how does it affect my future? And how can I be smart when taking out loans?
Well, this is a good question, Constance. This is probably something that if you wanted to meet with me one-on-one, we could probably spend a whole hour talking about. But I mean, student debt varies from student to student, especially you all going to be eventually going into the undergrad programs or whatever university of your choice. There are a lot of more grant opportunities for undergraduate students that will not allow you to have to take out loans, depending on the institution that you're going to. But I would suggest that the less loan amount that you take out, the better. And to prepare for your future, like once you graduate and you start repaying back the loans, you just want to make sure that you manage your loans in the best way possible. Federal government loans, they have lots of good opportunities for you to be able to manage your loans. They have different repayment plans for you to choose from, repayment plans that are based off of your income. If there's a time period where you can't make any type of payments, they have a temporary suspension of payments, such as like forbearances and deferments. And even if you decide to, after you graduate college and you want to work in the public service industry, they do have public service loan forgiveness. So there are ways and options, as long as you stay up to date and talk to your financial aid counselors at your university. They should have someone to help you with entrance counseling and exit counseling to prepare you for your future after college. So just be mindful of that. A lot of people, on a graduate level, because I work more with graduate students, but on the graduate level, sometimes students take out maximum amount of loans and then some because they need their loan money to live off of. But you being an undergraduate student, like you may not have to live off campus. Maybe you still can stay at home with your parents. And so all you need is just enough money to cover your tuition and your fees. And if that, I would suggest that would be the best option to go. So that way you're not in too much debt. But as you continue on with your education, if you decide to go to grad school, medical school, PhD, whatever, then just keep that in mind that the loan debt may be high, but as long as you stay on top of it and you talk to your loan servicers and things like that, they all can help you, and your school can all help you make sure that you're making all the right decisions for your loans.
Greg, can I add a little follow-up on that?
Please jump in.
So one of the things I want to just contextualize is asking this question is really interesting in that even within the financial aid community, you may find different answers, right? Depending on how people approach the overall financial aid process and industry and from their own personal experience. One of the things I just want to share in my 20 years of working in this industry is there tends to be a lot of fear around borrowing for education. And whether we should or shouldn't borrow, whether we should or shouldn't take student loans really is an entirely other discussion. For many, many students and families, the reality is we don't have the cash resources to be able to invest in our education in the way that maybe the Department of Education or our local states think that we can afford to do that. And so for many of us, federal student loans are a way in which we can bring those resources to the table or finance our education. And Erica, I think, did a great job of explaining that while overall none of us want to have debt in our lives, the fact of the matter is that for many of us, this may be the only choice. And student loans aren't anything to fear. There's a lot of wonderful protections that are built in with the student loan program, the federal student loan program, and often with institutional loans. Obviously, it's a personal decision and something that you and your family make, but that you work with the Office of Financial Aid to make the best decision for you, both in the short term and long term. But I just don't want there to be fear around student debt, because it is and can be quite manageable.
That's a great takeaway. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Erica. And great question, Constance. Our next question is for Isabel. Isabel, Christine wants to know, what exactly is the FAFSA? We see that most colleges determine financial need based on your FAFSA, but tell us, what is FAFSA exactly?
Sure. So FAFSA is a free application. So it stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Most schools well, actually all schools will require it to award federal and some state aid as well. A lot of times I hear, I'm not applying for FAFSA because I don't qualify. When I was working for institutions, what I always said is just apply. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't check your credit. It doesn't check your parents' credit. A lot of schools require it for internal scholarships. When you apply for outside scholarships, sometimes they'll ask what your EFC is, which is the number that the FAFSA will give you to let you know how much you may qualify for. It can qualify you for federal grants, which is free money. You can qualify for federal work study, which is a great opportunity for you to earn money while you're in school working on campus, just to lower your debt so you don't have to take out loans. It can qualify you for federal loans. If you need the federal loans, they're always there for you to use, so you're not struggling while you're in school. So the FAFSA application is something that you definitely want to complete if you are planning to go to when you go to college. You want to complete that. They come out October 1st. Complete it as soon as possible, because I know some schools begin sending out financial aid packages as early as November. So if you have your FAFSA completed, they'll be able to give you a semi-accurate estimate of what you may qualify for. So it's a free application, as mentioned, and definitely complete it with your parents. It does require your information, your parents' information, income, things like that. So I would sit down with your parent to complete it, or even possibly go to maybe your college counselor at your high school, see if they have any time to assist you completing it. And there's also a lot of FAFSA workshops in your area, in a lot of areas that offer kind of this group setting where they'll assist you complete your FAFSA. And it's financial aid counselors from colleges, from high schools. So they're very knowledgeable in the FAFSA process. So I definitely recommend looking into that when you're ready to start completing your FAFSA.
Thank you so much, Isabel. It's super clear. And yeah, hopefully that clears it up for a lot of folks about what the FAFSA is and when to apply. I'm looking at the clock, and we are approaching time here. So we have a lightning round of questions for folks. So we're going to try to answer this as concisely as possible. My first question is for Carla. Carla, Zeba wants to know, what exactly is a scholarship?
A scholarship is free money that helps you pay for college and can come from a whole variety of sources. It can come from the college or university. It can come from businesses, nonprofit organizations, all sorts of places. But the key is it's free money to help you pay those college costs.
Great. Thank you so much, Carla. Our next question is from Ash. Ash wants to know, what is the best website to find scholarships? And I can take this one, Ash. There are a lot of scholarship websites out there. We recommend that you go to bigfuture.org, where you can explore over 14,000 scholarships in our directory. You can also get matched to a personalized list of scholarships that you're eligible for and can apply for today. And you can also qualify for $500 and $40,000 scholarships from Big Future just by taking steps to pave your own way and to plan for life after high school. So get started right now. You can go to bigfuture.org/scholarships to get started. Our next lightning round question is going to be for Jessica. Jessica, Anita wants to know, does the parent's financial status affect the student's ability to get a scholarship?
It depends. It depends on whether or not the scholarship says that the parent's finances will be considered as a part of the scholarship decision making. So, what is determined, let me also just share that when students and families complete the FAFSA application, they receive a series of questions that will then determine whether or not their parents' information is required on the FAFSA application. So if I was to generalize, I would say if a scholarship is asking for your FAFSA information, then yes, the answer is probably parents' financial information, if it's required on the FAFSA, will be considered in the scholarship. But ultimately, it's up to the scholarship organization, the donor, or the institution that's providing the scholarship about whether or not they want to consider that as a part of the decision-making process.
Great. Thanks so much, Jessica. And great question, Anita. All right. We have our last question for our panelists here. We've talked about a lot, from net price to cost of attendance to how to find scholarships to how do you become eligible for scholarships. My last question to each of you is, what's one big takeaway you want students and caring adults to get from today's event? What's that one big takeaway? Isabel, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think what I want them to know is that the financial aid office at these colleges that they're applying to or are interested in are there to help them. So don't be afraid to schedule an appointment to sit down and talk to them and have them go over your award letter. If you don't understand something, ask them. They know your award letter inside and out. So financial aid offices are there to help you. They're not there to take your money. They're not there to get you to apply for loans. They're there to help you and counsel you on how to pay for college.
Financial aid advisors are here to help. Excellent. Erica, what about you?
I would just say also, apply for FAFSA. You just never know what you can get unless you just go for it. So don't be afraid to do that as well.
Apply for FAFSA. Thank you so much, Erica. And Carla.
If you have never done a budget for yourself before, now is the time to start thinking about your own personalized budgets. Because like we talked about, schools are going to estimate some of these costs for you, but you should have a really good sense of, for example, how much do you spend on food? How much do you spend on buying new clothes every few months or years, however long that is for you? So start writing down, taking a look at what you're really spending, so that when financial aid offices start sending you that information, you can compare our estimates to what you're really likely going to spend in some of these areas.
Awesome. And that budgeting skill will not only be helpful in college, but beyond as well. So definitely something to get started on. And Jessica, what is your takeaway?
Yeah, I would, although I agree with Isabel, Erica, and Carla, all of those are equally important. I think I would just add, the whole financial aid process is really targeted towards the masses. And of course, that doesn't always apply or is particular to you and your family's unique situation. So if you feel like you have some sort of special circumstances, unique circumstances, some sort of exception that doesn't kind of fit into the overall financial aid process, again, I encourage you to reach out to a financial aid office of one of the schools that you're interested in to discuss those unique or special circumstances so that they can help you navigate how that may or may not change the process for you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And to reiterate, there are a lot of resources out there. Navigating this process can be complicated. It can be overwhelming, but reach out to financial aid advisors. There are also plenty of resources at bigfuture.org. If you go under our Pay for College pillar, you'll see lots of resources and articles and videos about how to calculate your cost, net price, and everything in between. I have one last question here from Vang Savran. They ask, will there be more of these finance-focused Big Future Live events in the future? That's a great question, and absolutely there will be. We'll have more events to help you kind of navigate financial aid, loans, FAFSA, so look out for more of those in the future. We're at time, but I want to thank all of our panelists and all of our audience members at home for joining us today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you all did too. We'd love to hear how today's session went. So after this event closes, audience members, you'll be directed to a feedback survey. Please complete it and help us make our next Big Future Live event even better. And if you missed anything from today's session, don't worry at all. The recording is going to be available later on demand at bigfuture.org/live. And finally, don't miss our next Big Future Live events this month. On February 22nd, we'll have experts from NASA and from other organizations answer your questions about careers in the STEM field. And on February 23rd, we'll host Yale University's Happy News professor, Dr. Lori Santos, who's going to answer your questions about managing stress as you plan for your future. So you don't want to miss it. Register today at bigfuture.org/live. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight, and have a good night.